We have the closing keynote, ladies and gentlemen. Could you please welcome the entertaining Ralph Simon on stage?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I think to start off with, let's just, I thought what we'd do today, if we could just have some help in getting this on the screen here. I thought what we'll do is we'll start up the proceedings with something that'll really excite you, showing great innovation, because I want to just show you that in Sri Lanka, one of the great things we have, in fact, the most precious commodity on earth, Sri Lanka has lots of. And you know what that commodity is? Creativity. Everybody's got it, but very few people know how to use it. So I'm going to show you, first of all, a couple of videos of creativity, and then take you through some interesting examples of how I think you can change the lives of people in Sri Lanka and people around the world. So are we okay? Ready to go? Okay. So I want to first of all show you a video that has got nearly 60 million views on YouTube. And the reason I want to show it to you is because of its... Here we go. Can we have some sound? But I just want to tell you, this is an interesting magazine. Those of you, have we got a picture? We'll get one in a minute. This is a magazine called Fast Company. It's an American publication, very interesting because it shows, in this issue, you can get it online, Fast Company. But the reason I show this is the 100 most creative people in business. Might be worth those of you that are interested in creativity and how you create new products for your company to think of this publication, a very interesting publication. How are we doing there, gentlemen? Do you think we're making progress? Come on, api meker keramo. Yes, we're ready to go. Okay, that's very good. Now hopefully we'll have some sound. Let's get this up and running. Okay, we've shown that, so we don't need that anymore. Right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hit it for some really interesting...
Your body. Come on, I said the hip to the hip, hop it, you don't stop, the rocket to the bang, bang, boogie, say up, jump, the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat.
Now what you hear is not a test, I'm rocking to the beat, and me, the groove, and my friends are gonna try to move your feet. See, I am Wonder Mike, and I'd like to say hello. Bang, bang, boogie to the boogie, the up, jump, the boogie to the bang, bang, boogie, let's rock.
You don't stop.
Rock the bit that'll make your body rock.
Real simple, you heard my voice, and then I brought two friends along.
And next on the mic is my man Hank. Come on,
Come and sing that song, that song.
Now, isn't that fantastic? Now, that's a commercial, and the reason I showed it to you, it's got nothing to do with mobile whatsoever, except it has got one very important thing to do with mobile, and that is the creativity. So now, I want to show you something else, which is creative. Let me just see if I can pull this up. This is a little clip that I shot a couple of weeks ago in Cairo. We were there in Cairo with the World Summit Awards. Where Madan was there with us. Where's Madan? You here? Yeah, he's there. Oh, there he's there over there. But I wanted to just show you how people are innovative with the things that they do. And here's a young lady who has found a unique way of doing something hands-free. Check this out. Here is Mona in Cairo, and look at the cool way that Muslim women use their phone hands-free. She's driving hands-free. Salam alaikum. So what do you think of that? Hands-free by sticking that in her abaya. Very, very interesting. Okay, so now we get on to the real show to show you what we think will be interesting for yourselves. And of course, what I'm going to do here is take you through some interesting examples of why I think that Sri Lanka is really on the right path if you are prepared to be creative and bring innovation. And the ICTA, which is now going to be the main engine for your creativity and your innovation, you're going to be with us and really making sure that we can take Sri Lanka to a whole new beginning. So, first of all, I'd like to say, of course, hello, and come on, everybody. What are you doing? That's what we really want to know, right? I hope that spelling is correct. I spent hours and days and years just coming up with that sentence. Okay, my name is Ralph Simon, and of course I'm not Lasit Malinga, and I'm not Bhatia Santosh. Well, I'm not Bhatia, maybe Santosh, you never know. And this is something that I believe very strongly in because I'm a great, great fan, great supporter, and great believer in Sri Lanka and Sri Lanka's creativity. Your most precious commodity, more precious than anything except the peace, so that finally the war is over and we can get ready to be open for business in many ways, more ways than one. So, inventing the future and how to thrive in a world of constant change, I thought I'd take you through some interesting examples to give you a sense of just why we are in such an important industry, the mobile business. There's a very famous quote, every thought we think is creating our future. You look at that picture, that's an interesting picture, isn't it? How many of you are involved in that kind of work? How many of you are innovators doing things right from the beginning? Well, check this out. Samuel Goldwyn, which is the guy who invented MGM, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Films, made this statement, never make forecasts, especially about the future. And here, look at this, Western Union. This is what they said in 1878. This telephone has too many shortcomings to be seriously considered as a means of communication. The device is inherently of no value. Well, when Western Union did that and started sending money by telegraph, you know who actually did believe in the phone when Western Union did not? A company called AT&T. Anybody heard of them? So isn't it amazing? Western Union said, telephones, it'll never happen. AT&T said, we think it could. And now AT&T is the second largest mobile phone company in the United States. 140 million subscribers, I think, something in that order. Here's another one. Thomas Edison, who invented the electric light bulb, he said the phonograph, the record player, has no commercial value at all in 1886. He was wrong, wasn't he? Look what he said. Thomas Edison. He was supposed to be so brilliant. By the way, do you know how many times Thomas Edison tried to get the electric light to work before he actually got on the final formula? How many do you think? Give me a suggestion. How many? 10,000. Close, but no cigar. Anyone else? 3,000. 3,000 times. It was like almost like Angry Birds 52 times, right, Tommy? That's what they said, 52 times, Angry Birds. Okay, here's another one. Lord Kelvin, very famous British industrialist. Heavier than air flying machines are impossible. Well, I'm pleased to say we flew here in a heavier than air machine, so obviously he was wrong. And Air Lanka flies very good planes these days, so clearly he was completely wrong. In fact, he was wrong about something else. Check this out. He said radio has no future. And that was only just over 100 years ago. So everyone who is a non-believer or says that things do not possibly or cannot possibly happen, there's somebody, maybe someone right here in this audience, who believes that they can happen. So look at this. Harry Warner, everyone knows Warner Brothers Pictures. He said, who the hell wants to hear actors talking? Now, can you imagine? That was 1927. That wasn't very long ago, less than 100 years ago. And he had a film company at the time, but it was all silent movies, no talkies. And look what happened to that. Now, how about this? Daryl Zanuck, famous, one of the creators of 20th Century Fox, the company that Rupert Murdoch and News Corporation bought about 25 years ago. He said, television will not last. Television will not last. Can you imagine that? No TV today. You can't imagine life without television in the same way you cannot imagine life without a mobile phone. Here is Ken Olsen, who was the head of Digital Equipment Corporation, 1977. Digital Equipment, one of the first major computer companies. There's no reason anyone would want a computer in their home. What happened to digital? Adios, amigo. It's gone. Because of some boneheaded, stupid thing that he said where he did not believe in the future. So what does all of this tell you? Well, check this out. This is Bill Gates of Microsoft, and it's actually quite a wise and profound statement. We always overestimate the change that will occur in the next 2 years and underestimate the change that will occur in the next 10. So, this is a message for all of you here today. Don't let yourself be lulled into inaction. Don't sit here in Colombo and say, we could never do it. You know what? I could never make it work. I've got a good idea, but it's never going to happen. That is not the right approach to have. Because if you rather act positively and say, you know what? I believe in something. I've got a burning hope that I can make something work. I can really do it really, really, really well. I can make it elekiri. Things would be much, much better. Here's something, Thomas Watson, one of the founders of IBM. Every time we've moved ahead in IBM, it was because someone was willing to take a chance to put his head on the block and try something new. So all of these examples show you if you've got a burning belief and you've really got it rooted in what you believe is your reality and you really feel you've got something that is a good idea, I've got some good news for you. You've got to stick with it because that's what Mark Zuckerberg did. That's what Sergey Brin and Larry Page did with Google, and it's something to really bear in mind. But of course, a terrible thing happens when you've got ideas like that. You hear people all around you saying, stop, 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 stop. It's never going to work. There's no way, no chance, forget about it. Should you listen to them? Should you say, well, I believe in my inner voice, and my inner voice says, I must go for it. Many people have their heads stuck in the sand like that. In fact, I know someone who has just that. See that guy there? He's got his head stuck in the sand because they all are stuck by someone saying, stop, you can't do it. When Shamal, who spoke earlier today, first came up with the idea of his company Topspin, people said to him, you crazy. You can't provide this service to fans. He said, I've got to do it. And in fact, that's what he said even earlier today, where he said he's got a new company idea, he's got to do it. He's got that burning spirit. Now, here's a very famous anthropologist, Anne Chapman, and she said something interesting which might appeal and apply to many of you here in the audience this afternoon. Half the people in this room will work in jobs that haven't been invented yet. Do you think that's possible? That was in 1979. So can you imagine if you were just finishing university in 1979 and you thought, well, what am I going to do in 15 years' time? There were many jobs that were never even there. Facebook started 8 years ago. Where were you in 2003? What were you doing in 2003? What were you doing? What were you doing? What were you doing? In 2003, I'll tell you one thing you were not doing. You weren't on Facebook because it wasn't even invented. Well, it was. He was working on it in his Harvard dormitory and decided he was going to drop out. But I feel very sorry for Mark Zuckerberg. Just the last 6 days, his value has dropped from $28 billion to a mere $21 billion. Poor, poor boy. I think we all have to send him some money. I'm going to have a collection after this talk so we can send him a few dollars just to make him feel a little bit better. Okay, 60 years ago when the first computers were developed, at a time when Alan Turing, famous computer scientist, and Hollerith, who developed the first computers 60 years ago, thought that they could do something interesting. And it had big, big, big consequences. And what are those consequences? Well, let's have a look at the consequences of what mobile is going to bring in a whole range of industries. And for all of you sitting here, when we talk about creativity and we talk about the way life is going to change, I want you to please do me a favor. I want you to stretch your bounds of comprehension, and I want you to think in these industries I'm going to show you now, whether you've got ideas that can bring about change here in Sri Lanka and bring about innovation and creativity in these areas. So first of all, we mentioned earlier today, Sri Lanka is famous for developing fantastic accountants and accounting practice and accounting professionals. Finance, the world of finance. Someone was telling me today that on the London Stock Exchange, some of the best software for the daily trades on the London Stock Exchange, billions of shares every day, was invented by you know who? By someone from Sri Lanka!